Hi everyone, this is Dominique Aubrey. Before I bust my butt here, just sitting at home on the couch. Sorry for a little boob action there. Welcome to this week on the Black Woman's Guide, where I talk about the top 3 things we did as a business this week in building the Black Woman's Guide. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about hiring on Upwork, which is a freelancer hiring tool, kind of like Fiverr, if you're familiar. It used to be Elance back in the day. It became Upwork a couple years ago. Applying for grants, so business grants for small businesses and Black women and women. And then a little bit about our building our business story and our brand. So we'll talk about. So we'll kick it off. So first and foremost, we hired an Upwork. So we had, because I have a team, we're building a business. It was really important to me to really get my hands around the business models and the financials, because it's not my particular strength, in the sense that I can definitely do budgeting and I can track my expenses and track them against how much money I'm making. That's pretty kind of basic stuff. But some of the larger things like cash flow statements, looking at P&Ls, just the consistency of doing that, I just knew I wasn't really going to do. But I just knew that with a team and with them investing actual operating dollars, which if for folks who are thinking about equity or equity-based business with colleagues, there's different ways to invest that equity. We're using it as operating dollars. So the money that people are giving us is going into the development and building of the business for our operating costs and expenses. And so it just was really important to me to have really good financial underpinnings of our business, to be able to understand what we're doing, what we have to work with, what the impact is, so we can make informed decisions. And I just knew that I wasn't able to do that myself with all the other things that we have to do, and I wanted someone who was really strong in it. So I had brought on a Black woman CFO part-time, works as a contractor with the Black Woman's Guide, to help build out the model. And I saw the first draft of it last week, and it was really great. And we'll talk more about it next week after I've shared it with the team. We get some feedback on that. But it was really awesome just to see it come to life and start to get a better sense at a business level, at a financial level, how our business is going to run. It was just really a powerful moment. And for a lot of folks who are building their businesses and, who are just making cakes or baking cupcakes or making t-shirts, and they're not really doing the finances, I would just really it's a really important part of being a business owner. And it really makes you feel legit when you actually have cash flow statements and have monthly statements. And you can get those from, if you use QuickBooks. I use Wave accounting, which I really like, and it kind of produces those reports for you. I also have the CFO who's she's just manually creating them in Excel as well. But either way, it's if you're going to go to a bank or go to anywhere, having that financial model, and having those kind of documents, being able to generate them from a tool like Wave Accounting or QuickBooks is great. But also having someone who can talk you through the decision-making process around that information is also really great. And that's what our CFO is able to do. She's able to look at that and say, well, based on your assumptions, which are, your assumed expenses, this is how much money you're spending per month. Is this the way you want to spend that money? How do we back out into looking at your sales funnel and how that's going to impact your expenses over time, and when can we expect that those expenses will show up on your P&L? All these kind of different questions that are really helpful as a business owner to think through. And you wouldn't know to ask those questions on your own unless you have a financial background. And so I can't say enough about having a contract CFO. And in earnest, you probably can just go and find, even for most folks at the stage of their business, just finding a friend or a colleague who's an accountant probably can help you just set some basic stuff up and give you some basic information that's helpful. So it doesn't have to be a CFO proper to give you all this financial thinking, but even in just a pretty good accountant will have a half an hour call with you each month to go over your expenses and talk you through what they're seeing. And if they're a little bit more seasoned, they'll be able to give you some insight on things you should be considering. So I really recommend it, and they're not really that expensive. I think you can usually hire an accountant for $40 an hour, which people might be oh my gosh, which leads me to Upwork. So we had a CFO, and then we also had some kind of accounts manager who's going to help us just collect the expenses every single month and track them. And so she actually had a family emergency, and she really couldn't take on any additional work. So I had to go onto Upwork and hire a freelancer. So I put in a post for a freelancer and got a bunch of people back. I ended up hiring a woman named Jennifer, Jenny, and from the Philippines. And I'm just sharing this because I think it's important to know that, first of all, yes, we're the Black Women's Guide, but we have real cost constraints. We also have access constraints in my network, and I can't spend 6 months looking for an accountant. I did have a Black female accountant, but again, she had a family emergency, so I had to kind of make a quick decision, and also want to find something that was cost effective for us and our business. So I pay her this $65 a month, and she tracks all our expenses and all our revenue. And she also will go back in history and kind of review all the financials to date and basically put that into a summary. She will also provide some basic financial reports around expenses and things like that. And she'll also participate in a half an hour call each month to review that financial data with us. So now I have the strategy side, which is our CFO, and the accounts manager side, or the accountant side, kind of supporting the kind of the keeping of the ledger, right? The business ledger. So that's really great. And so they're working kind of together. And what I did is I just put out my post. I researched a bunch of people, right, that responded. And I actually just had a Skype call with her and just talk to her. One, can we communicate? Can I understand what she's saying? Can she understand my English? Can I understand her English? What time zones? She's in the Philippines, so what's the time difference? And when should we communicate and work together? How long does she think this will take her? What does she need to prepare? So we just had that conversation. And it's okay, cool, we're good. And she was nice. She's funny. It was cool. And she went to school in New York, and and now is back in the Philippines. So I felt very comfortable. I think she's a CPA as well. Very comfortable with her. She's not older, but in her 30s or late 20s or early 30s woman. So we did. So I'm really excited about that, because that really, together, we have a really good financial backbone to our business. And this is an area that I know is lacking. And if anyone's building a business, it's really important to identify your strengths and weaknesses and know where you don't have coverage and where you need it. A lot of times people give you advice just sell. You don't need to worry about the finances till later. It's not the critical thing. I have just taken a different approach. I just want to be really grounded in the business of my business. That's it. I want to be grounded in the business of my business. It's a choice that I'm making to understand my business decisions and how it's impacting what I do, particularly because I have a team of people who are investing dollars into my business. I get it. If it's just my money, I might not care as much, but having someone to talk to about your money is actually so valuable. It's probably the most valuable thing. So again, if you can get a seasoned accountant, hey, thanks for watching. We're talking about hiring on Upwork. If you can get a seasoned accountant, or just someone who is a little bit more senior than just someone who does basic ledgers, it's really going to be helping you think through your business in a thoughtful way and how you spend your money. And and my CFO today has done a ton of great things, looked over my contract with me, identified some other issues that would impact the financials, and it's just been really helpful. So that's the first thing that we've done, is we hired an Upwork, and so I'll let you know how that goes. Our first team meeting is in late September, so I'll let you know how that goes with our new kind of accountant that we hired in Upwork from the Philippines. So that's the first thing. The second thing is grants. So we applied for some grants. Hello, I can't see who. I love how. Why is Facebook and me not friends, man? I swear. Anyway, so hi everyone. So I applied for a grant. So the one I applied for was called the Amber Grant. It's $1,000. I guess I'll find out in a couple of days if we got it or not. I just put it in on a whim, so we'll see. Grant writing is its own art, so I don't pretend to be a excellent grant writer. But it made me really, one, I wanted to kind of look at grants for the Black Women's Guide, and because here's the thing, the reality, for me at least, is that maybe we could be a venture-backed company, but most likely we're not going to be. And I don't know if we even really want to be. And so accelerators, one, don't necessarily make sense because we might not be creating or positioning our business or structuring it in the way it needs to be structured to become a venture-backed company. So that's the first thing. So we're not really looking at venture dollars, which means accelerators are not really a good fit. There are some programs that are interesting to join that kind of just give you business fundamentals and how to make build your business and the business decisions, but a lot of them are kind of crap. Like if you look at the ones that are not really giving you actual venture dollars, that are just like these like social impact programs, or like, where they have like mentors come in and stuff, like they're not bad. Like they kind of, sure, they're nice, but they don't really help you solve the business challenges that you actually have. They kind of just give you a lot of information with people that just come in and do like a session on this and a session on that. You get some kind of cool ideas, you talk to some people, and it kind of helps, but it doesn't really drive your business directionally forward. It's a little bit more hodgepodgey. So it's like, so it's a little bit, I'm sensitive about applying to those things. I don't know if the value is really there for them. The network's kind of cool. You meet some cool people, so there's value to it, but it's just not, for the time, it's not, I'm not really clear that it's super valuable, and the information they're sharing is super valuable all the time. But if you're starting from scratch and you're brand new to business and how to do things, it is definitely a good primer to do like some kind of a accelerator program for like nonprofits or social impact, or like some of the city run accelerators that are like, more kind of for mom and pop type of stuff, versus trying to apply to an accelerator where you're not really prepared for venture conversations in any way, shape, or form. But grants are really a great way to kind of supplement the revenue stream that you need for your business. So what people don't realize oftentimes is grants are not just for nonprofits. There's a lot of business grants for women, for Black women, for Black people, and for small businesses that you can apply for. And they have a couple throughout the year. So I think one thing I'm going to try and do for the Black Women's Guide is start to just kind of track those and kind of just get like a listserv of when grants are going live, so people can just access them and apply to them. I just think it's going to be really valuable when people just don't have a method for doing that, and just kind of like hearing about the opportunities to apply for dollars. People always talk about needing money, but the thing is, and that is it's a real issue. Like access to capital is a real issue, whether it's loans, grants, credit, those are real issues. At the same time, understanding what to do with those dollars in real ways is also a real problem. So though there's a fundamental lack of access to capital, there is also, for many Black women, a fundamental gap in their understanding of business financials and business tenants and build business process, and that impacts how much money you can get. Yeah, I mean, you can get $1,000, you can get 2 or 3, but can you get 10, 15, 20, 30, 50, 100? If you don't understand business finance, if you don't understand how to make business decisions, if you don't understand how legal impacts financials, or you don't have resources to figure that out, that makes it really even more challenging to get those dollars. So, I would really recommend, again, building a team of people that can support you. Being a one-man show might be easier on your soul because it's just you. You have to deal with other people's stuff, and you have to lead other people, manage other people. But in reality, you can't be great at everything, and it's really hard for you to grow your business by yourself without a team eventually, right? Because someone else is going to know other things that you don't know. But in the short term of that, you can apply for some grants that are smaller level. So we applied for a $1,000 grant, and I'm going to apply for a couple more throughout the year. I'll let you know how it goes. But just hopefully we'll be able to put something out there where you guys can just access grants. Like we'll just post them maybe on like an email listserv. So like as they go live, we'll be like, hey, this one just went live. Like check it out if you want to apply or whatever. Because it can be hard to find them. It also can be hard to know when they're going live. So sometimes they have one that they're like, oh, these are the top 10 ones to apply for, but they already passed, like the due date passed, or like you go to the link and it's from 2016 and like you can't find the new one, and like little things like that. So I think being able just to share more of like, what's coming up, I think is really like nice and helpful. So we'll do that. That's the second thing, that's grants. The third thing is just the business story and the brand. So one of the things I spent over the last 2 weeks doing was really thinking about our business story and our brand. So we still have to build out the brand identity. We're not really there yet, but really the first part was like, what are we doing and what's our goal? We're still developing our product. We have some ideas for products that we want to offer to the community. But the first piece of that was like really saying, what's our goal as a business? And so it was really important for us to solidify like our goal is to help Black women make $100,000 or more. Period. Whether they earn it in their job, whether they earn it in their business, whether they earn it through investment, our goal is to increase the number of Black women who make 6 figures a year. Because we think it will have a material impact in the Black community. It will completely change our economics as Black people. So that's our goal. Our goal is to make $100,000 100, we want to have 100,000 Black women become 100,000 heirs, pretty much, that 120, 100, 120, 150 range. That's really the goal. It's really material for most Black women. It really equates to this idea of a life well lived. You can buy a house, you can send your kid to a good school, you can go on vacation, you can retire comfortably, and you can give your kid a nest egg. And so that feels like a life well lived. And that benchmark number is about $120,000. And I just heard the other day from someone who said that they heard something from Bill Gates saying that the middle class income will be like $220,000 to $250,000, or $200,000 to $250,000 a year, which means that each person in the household makes like $100,000 a year. So it goes back to what life well lived is around this 100K mark. So as many women as we can help get there, that's our goal. So that was like a really important thing to like name out loud and validate and say like the ways in which women can do that if they don't have a trust fund is really only in 3 ways: build a business, invest in the stock market or other investment vehicles, or get promoted through your career. And so once we kind of identified that as like the 3 things that are like the most meaningful, it allowed us to say, okay, we now have a business story. We have a place of perspective and opinion of what we're driving toward and why it matters to us, because we think it makes a material difference in communities. And we know that there's 3 ways to get there. So it really has added a lot of structure to our business. And now we can kind of start to storytell around that, because now we understand what we're trying to go toward. So that was a really important thing that had to happen in the last 2 weeks, just really getting really, really clear around what our value proposition is that drives our business forward and drives our thinking, what our philosophical underpinnings are of the business and why we do what we do and what we think is important. And I'm very much a doer, and I want to make sure we're doing things that are meaningful, that we can speak to with confidence. So right now we're still figuring out the product, but we were able to determine that what the business story is and what we're doing. So I look forward to sharing more of that business story as we craft it and get better at articulating it and presenting it and sharing it with you all. But it was really a great moment to say the Black Woman's Guide's goal is, to propel Black women to success. And that means creating 100,000 heirs that are Black women around the country, so that we can materially change and invest in Black communities around the country and around the world. So that was really cool. So that was the 3 things that we did in the last week or two. I haven't been online last week, so this is what we've done the last 2 weeks or so. And thank you for watching the Black Woman's Guide and listening to This Week on BWG as you kind of watch our journey, or watch us tell our story, really, of our journey of building the Black Woman's Guide. Thanks so much and have a great night.